Old business is now open. Are there any bills for old business? Zach.
Introducing SS47-029, a bill amending Article 8, Section 1 through 4 of the Student Senate bylaws for regular consideration.
Would you like to expand on that?
Yes, thank you, Sam. So yeah, the majority of the edits that were made were in Section 3. We kind of took out restrictions and put guidelines, and then we just kind of expanded the compass, if you will, of the things that should be in place. And that, yeah, I can kind of do the questions, but it's kind of more self-explanatory. And in Section 1, we kind of just expanded the politically correct way of saying it.
Okay. So if anyone wants to get onto the speakers list, you can type list into the chat. And yeah, I'll start a speakers list from there. Jordan, I don't know if that was for, yeah. I assume not.
John, yeah.
Okay. Ainsley.
I just want to say that I think it looks great. I remember how much work the bylaw review committee put into all these bills. So I think it's great.
Thank you, Ainsley. Anyone else for the speakers list? Jake.
I just have a question, and this very well may be correct. Should undergraduate day division students, is day division a proper noun? Like, should that be capitalized? Like, it very well might be because it's referring to like a classification of students, but I've just never heard that before.
I think it can just remain there. The parliamentarian can check again for grammar issues again. So I think it's something that we can delegate to the parliamentarian. Any other speakers for the speakers list? Or any motions?
Question?
All those in favor of calling this bill a question? All those opposed? Abstentions? This bill is now called to question. It is a bylaw bill, so we do have to do a mandatory roll call. Are you ready? Go ahead.
Kathleen Kachatarian,
Yes.
Jacob Hartzler,
Yes.
Adam Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Ainsley Ivan,
Yes.
Zachary LaFontaine,
Yes.
Jordan Sanon,
Yes.
Brianna Day, Alexander Stevens,
Yes.
Christopher Langlois,
Yes.
Michaela Mack,
Yes.
Zachary Domian,
Yes.
Steve Gardner,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Jeff Dunn,
Yes.
Amanda Plath, yes, Jim Nugent,
Yes.
Alex Stoneclose,
Yes.
Mike Carroll,
Yes.
Ashley Harrybox,
Yes.
Fiona Dolan,
Yes.
This
Bill passes.
okay, still passes. Anyone else for old business? Ainsley.
Introducing SS47-030, bill amending Article 8, Section 5 through 7 of the Student Senate bylaws.
Would you like to expand?
Yeah, this one really covers the main changes were to Section 5, dealing with vacancies on Senate and ICC, because there were some situations last semester that prompted this. It really just updated the bylaws to like how elections go now and how they just modernizing our bylaws, if you will. And then some minor change, not minor, but changes to the elections committee and how it's run, but not as many as to the vacancy section.
So we can start speakers list from there. People want to get onto the list, they can type in list into the chat. Or if you're in person, you can also raise your hand if you like. Whatever works for you.
Point of parliamentary. Just remember, this is a bylaw bill. We're amending the bylaw, so I would love to hear some discussion on it. This is kind of a big deal. We didn't get much on the last one. There were minimal changes in the last one, but this one has some huge changes, so I would love to hear some discussion.
Thank you, Kayla. Jordan?
I just want to clarify, subsection 5 special elections, that was changed, correct? It was before that there was 2 seats, correct? So now that there's 3 seats, then we hold another election? Or, yeah, correct? Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great idea. I remember we talked about that last semester, and I think that 2 is not enough. So I think 3 is I think it's better than what it was. So I'm happy that that section was changed and that change was made. So I just wanted to point that out because that was something we talked about last semester. That's a pretty big deal. So I think that section looks good entirely. So.
Anyone else for speakers list? Allie?
Point of inquiry, why is there a subsection about ICC vacancies in our bylaws? Just so we can all
Does anyone want to?
get more clarification on that.
Can you repeat that?
Why is there a section on ICC vacancies in the Senate bylaws, just so we can all get clarification on that?
So Senate runs the ICC elections, so it makes sense to have a section about their vacancies as well.
Brian? Sorry, point of personal privilege. Can you just speak up more?
I'm sorry, yeah. Seeing as it says that we have like a hand in there, like election, and that you get to fill the vacancy, how's that kind of work? I thought they had their own kind of president, or
I can direct to that. So I wouldn't fill any vacancy for ICC, for example. So I think in this one it says that if one seat is vacant within the class, it'll be appointed by their class president. So, for example, if your class of 2024, if one of the cabinet seats are vacant, then the class president, I don't know who your class president is, but they would fill it. You can continue speaking, turn up.
yeah, I think again, because you're not the class president, you're the Senate president.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No worries. That's a good question, though. Anyone else for the speakers list? Does anyone want to yield to our advisor? Jordan?
I yield to Adrian.
This is your second speaking turn, by the way.
I just think that in the concept of ICC's vacancy being in our bylaws, I don't think it's necessary because if there is a vacancy, it would be outlined in the ICC bylaws. Even though their elections are run concurrently with ours, we don't necessarily, like, if they need to run an election, like, we don't take charge of that. Like, yes, there is the elections committee, but it's only when the elections committee has to be called do we need to refer to anything in ICC. So for an ICC vacancy, I think if there is something in there where it says, if the elections committee needs to be called for conducting ICC elections, because that does pertain to us. But in regards to an appointment, I don't think that needs to be in our bylaws.
Ainsley. Point of personal privilege, can you speak up, please? I can't hear you.
Would it be better for that to be put under the election committee or just taken out in general?
That's at discretion of all of you. If you want to do that, that's completely fine. You can amend it as will. But whatever you guys feel like doing. if you want to amend it that way, you can. Do you want to continue your speaking turn? Yeah. Okay. Jake. Oh, wait, let me mute. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. So I was just thinking, doesn't it seem, well, I just in reading this, it feels like it might be a bit redundant to say if the student Senate Executive Board intends to fill a vacancy, they must notify all students through an all student email of the open position no later than 1 academic week prior to the introduction of the appointment bill, yada, yada, yada. And we say it 3 separate times. Like, can't we just include that under Senate vacancies and then leave that out of spring elections and freshman and transfer elections? Because wouldn't a vacancy in the spring election or a freshman and transfer election also be covered under just a Senate vacancy? If not, I mean, if we need that further clarification, then I'm all ears to it. It's just the way I'm reading it now kind of feels like we say the same thing in 3 different sections.
You're muted, I think.
Oh my God, I completely oh, sorry. I'll repeat myself again. So I just said if people are on board with that, you can motion to amend it that way, and see how people feel. But if you feel like that is a good move, then you can motion to amend, and then see if people are on board with that. I'll see if
Can I just continue my speaking turn?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to think of like the most logistical way to accomplish that, but it would involve, we'd have to reword pretty much each of the subsections. So I kind of just wanted to hear from the the sponsors of the bill who have been putting in work in this to see if like they're seeing something different than what I'm seeing, because I could totally just be misreading it from one narrow perspective.
What? You want direct, Ainsley?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I forgot how to say it.
Yeah.
I believe we put it in there. It's been a while, so like my memory is a bit foggy. We put it in there just to make sure it's extra clear. If you notice a lot in our bylaws, you might notice some repetition in a lot of sections, especially I remember when we wrote the finance section and SAF section, it does repeat a lot, but it's just to make sure that it's extra clear. It may seem redundant, which I understand, and I do see your point, but just to make sure that people know that applies in all these situations, all these special situations.
Jake, would you like? Go ahead.
Yeah, when you say it that way, that makes a lot of sense, and I can see, with that point of view, I can see why we would want to include that in each of these subsections. So I guess really that was all the clarification I really wanted. So thank you, Ainsley.
Thank you, Jake. Adam.
I would be interested to see what the ICC bylaws say about vacancies before we kind of make a definite determination one way or the other, just to make sure that the two of them are compatible and consistent across the board.
And I think we'll get a point of information at some point from our advisor. I think is currently doing that research. But while we're waiting for that, we'll move on to Allie. And this is your second speaking turn, Allie D. Withdrawn? Then you can keep it. Ashley.
So in the section, subsection 5, special elections, if more than 3 vacancies exist within Senate, must call a special election within 1 month of vacancies. Why is it 1 month? Why is it not sooner? Like if we have 3 vacancies on Senate, why do we not want to have the election be sooner to try and fill those vacancies as soon as possible?
I can direct to that. I think with a special election, just any election in general, you kind of want to give the candidates time to campaign and to kind of state their cases to the student body in order to make sure that, like, hey, this is why I want you to elect me. Like, it gives them the time to, one, for the candidates to prepare, and also for the elections committee to prepare a special election packet, for example, if they need to do that, and any rulemaking that needs to happen, that can be done within a month. So it's a very good question, but that's the reason kind of behind it too. Would you like to continue speaking turn?
No, no, sorry.
Perfect. Anyone else for the speakers list? Allie. And
Point of information.
okay, you can keep your speaking turn. Point of information from Adrian.
Just as a reminder to folks, as people have more questions around this, you do not need to pass this tonight. You can always table it and bring it back next week or later on.
Table this bill till next week meeting.
All those in favor of tabling this bill until next week? All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All those in favor, can you just raise your hands again of tabling this bill? All those opposed? Abstentions? This bill is tabled for next week. Okay, any other bills or pieces of legislation for old business? Allie?
Introducing SS47 031, a bill amending Article 8, Section 8 through 10 of the Student Senate bylaws.
Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, it's pretty, it's just some general cleanup, you know, renaming some sections, adding some subsections, and clearing up a little bit of the language, nothing too strenuous.
Okay, we'll open up the speakers list from there. Ainsley?
I just really want to touch on Section 8's renaming. I think it sounds a lot better than club and organization endorsement. I think campaign endorsement makes more sense. It's more clear, concise, specific, all that nice.
Jordan?
I'd just like to elaborate on that. Can someone explain to me why, like, campaign was chosen over club and organization endorsement? Like anyone on the sponsors, would you mind explaining to me why campaign was chosen instead of that?
You two can decide between each other if you wants to direct. Go ahead, Ainsley.
If you look in, like, on the second line of Section B, well, first and second, any organized group outside of Student Senate, and I feel like that, like, encompasses more than just clubs and orgs. I know it says, like, only any Student Senate chartered club organization or like before that, so it was much more narrow, and I feel like by adding any organized group outside of the Student Senate, we couldn't keep the name at just clubs and orgs, because then that was too narrow of a title for the definition that we added. That's why we changed it.
Brian?
Point of personal privilege, please speak up, please.
Point of personal privilege? Just speak up louder, please. Thank you. Sorry. Good.
So sticking with Section 8, with mainly the chartered clubs and organizations or any group outside the Student Senate, was it that you couldn't get endorsements from outside clubs that weren't chartered by Senate, or was it just not like a written rule? Like that you could do it, but it wasn't just like that.
Any sponsors want to direct that? Ainsley?
Since that was added, I'm assuming no outside group like such as Hawkwood, which isn't student Senate chartered, but it's an organized group here on campus, like they wouldn't be able to, but now that we added that, they now can. So it's more inclusive of all the groups here on campus.
I guess I have a question, point of personal, point of inquiry, I guess for people in general. So is that something that I guess this student senate wants in terms of, like say for example, like Hopward, or even like thinking for like peer mentors, or Howie's, for example, Howie groups to endorse candidates, even though we don't provide any funding to them and have a say on our campaigns. Maybe that's something to think about, but I see a direct coming from Ainsley.
Yeah, sorry for all the directs tonight. I prefer it because even though they aren't student senate chartered, it does not mean that we do not speak on their behalf. We speak on all students here, all student groups, and those are the Howies especially. Just out of your examples, are an important group here on campus, and I would like that they have their voices heard in our elections. We represent them here as well. We don't just represent groups that are chartered, we represent all students here.
Okay, just making sure. I mean, not everyone has to have the same opinion. Just remember that as well. If you feel like that's not your position, that's completely fine. I know I heard some knocking, so I assume some people agree. But just something to think about when you're reading this. Because it can be interpreted in any way based on the parliamentarian's reading. Anyone else for a speaker's list? Mike. Motion amend? What would your amendment be?
Under section 9, under line 20, deadline will be the first Friday in March. We would switch it to first Friday in March, or by the discretion of the clubs and boards committee.
So the new line would read, unless a club is waived by the clubs and organizations committee, the club election deadline will be the first Friday in March, or at the discretion of the clubs and organizations committee. Is there a second to that amendment? All those in favor of the amendment in question? All those opposed? Abstentions? The amendment passes. I believe Brianna was first, and then we'll get to you on that.
Yeah, so also another thing about groups that aren't chartered by the student senate, just because they aren't chartered by us doesn't mean that we'll never be giving them any funding. For example, last year we had ice hockey come in to ask for funding.
Does that complete your speaking turn?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Zach LaFontaine.
Motion to amend.
Go ahead.
Line 24, we just strike engage in Hawklink.
Go ahead,
That change is not made in case the name of Hawklink changed, then we would not be changing every reference in our bylaws.
We can still vote on the amendment, though. Is there a second to that amendment? Okay, so that amendment fails, and you get to keep your speaking turn. Jordan, this is your second speaking turn.
Is it a point of inquiry?
Go ahead, and you can keep your speaking turn.
I'm just confused about section 10, where the line club and organizations officers will be sworn in the student senate induction ceremony by the president of the student senate. I just confused as to why that was taken out due to the fact that isn't that exactly what we do? The president swears in every new senator in like during their induction ceremony, or is it just trying to be more clear and concise? So I'd love to hear that.
The secretary will direct.
So that is the process for Senate as you described, but this is specifically the process about other club and org officers that can be any club that we charter.
So the induction, can I continue my speaking turn?
This will be your second speaking
Oh,
turn.
sorry. Yeah. Yes. Okay, that's fine. So this is the same oath that every person who is elected into a position, regardless of student senate, uses.
Go ahead.
Yes, so this would be the same for if it's any one of the 70 plus charter signatory.
Thank you.
So you are on the speaking turn moving forward.
It's totally fine.
Ashley.
Point of inquiry, section 8, why is the title campaign endorsement and not endorsements? Because I believe, like, you can receive multiple endorsements.
I'll direct that. And the parliamentarian, I feel like, can catch, well, good catch first off, and the parliamentarian can decide to change that grammar issue if they would like to. Yep. There you go. Thank you for that. Would you like to continue your speaking turn? Are you all set?
All set, thank you.
Cool. Anyone else for the speakers list? Ainsley.
I would like to yield my speaking turn to Adrian.
And this is your second speaking turn.
Actually, I can do a point of inquiry.
Well, you can keep it now.
I think going to Jordan's question around section 10, where the senator overhears about section 10, I think is, so who is responsible for swearing in the club and organization officers? That is my point.
Does anyone want to direct to that? If not, I can. Adam.
So, as you can see in the stricken through section, it used to say the president of the Senate, but the bylaw review committee decided to remove that because that was not what was happening in practice. So that way it could be encompassing of any club or org that would have been suited.
Ali.
Yeah, point of inquiry. So, who is, yeah, I'm still confused. Like, I am on a club e-board. Who is supposed to have been making me take this over?
I will direct now moving forward because I have not done this before. I'll be completely honest. I don't think I've sworn in any club officers. I don't think my predecessor swore in any club officers. I don't think the predecessor before my predecessor swore in any club officers unless I'm wrong.
We have personal privilege. Please speak up.
Yeah. I don't think, I honestly haven't sworn in any club officers. I don't think my predecessor swore in any, he did. Well, I was not.
The only one who hasn't.
Well, did he really? No, I don't think he did.
You're the only one who hasn't.
Well, I didn't do it, so, and I'll blame COVID for that one. Okay. There's your point of information for you. I don't remember him doing that. I have no recollection of him doing that, unless he did like in private. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. Well, there's that for you. Ali.
Second point of inquiry, if it's not being practiced, like, period at all, then why should we keep the section? Just a thought.
Does anyone want to direct to that? Or we can move on. Go ahead, Aiden. Yes, you can direct.
It is being practiced, but it was just that this year, our opening club officers meeting, it did not take place. And in May, when the election took place, Chris swore him in before he left. Chris Costa swore in the new club officers before he stepped down.
Oh. Okay, it's not my fault then.
That is why. So yes, the swearing in happens in April. That's why you have not.
Well, so this isn't my fault, is what I've learned. Okay, cool.
Point of inquiry.
Go ahead.
When in April,
May.
when in May would would the president do this? Would it be at our very last Senate meeting?
No, it's at a club officers meeting that we call in May to swear in the officers and also to give them the information like these are things to expect over this course of the summer.
Tadek.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a direct or a list or whatever, but yeah, I've been on an executive board for a club for 4 years and I've gotten sworn in every year. It's at the last club officers meeting and the president just says, and it makes you feel more obligated and more like professional if that maybe you just don't feel like a random e-board member on campus. It kind of like makes you feel as if like you're committing to something and that at the end of the day, there's still somebody above you, like there's still a student senate above you who's laws and guidelines you do have to still oblige to. So, and it kind of puts into perspective the fact that, like, yes, you should be attending those club officer meetings because, like, you are sworn in by Student Senate. So I think that section should say, and it should definitely clarify, like, who is doing the swearing in of the new members.
Motion to amend.
What would your amendment be?
To change line 40, 41 to read, club and organizations officers will be sworn in at the Senate induction ceremony by the president of the student.
So just removing the strike through? Okay. Do you still second that, Brian?
Second that, sorry.
Okay. All those in favor of unstriking through that line? All those in favor? Oh. All those opposed? Abstentions? I'll veto that because I feel like there's a reason.
I would like to add a point of information.
Go ahead.
That as the clubs and orgs chair also works closely with the newer club officers coming in, I think it would be also helpful if the clubs and orgs chair also had the power to swear in club officers.
Okay, so I vetoed. Huh?
Motion to amend.
What would your amendment be?
Line 41, President of the Senate or their designee.
Did everyone hear that? So the line would read, clubs and organizations officers will be sworn in at the Senate induction ceremony by the president of the Student Senate or their designee. Is there a second to that amendment? All those in favor of that amendment reading, clubs and organizations officers will be sworn in at the Senate induction ceremony by the president of the Student Senate or their designee. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? The amendment passes.
Motion to amend again.
What would your amendment be?
Line 40 to read as follows: club and organization officers will be sworn in by the president or their designee. So take out the Senate induction ceremony.
Can you repeat it again, just out louder?
Basically remove from line 40 at the Senate induction ceremony.
Okay. So the amendment would read, clubs and organization officers will be sworn in by the president of the Student Senate or their designee. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the amendment of the line reading, clubs and organizations officers will be sworn in by the president of the Student Senate or their designee. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? The amendment passes. I have Ali DeFabritas next, so unless you'd like to withdraw. Withdraw? Cool. Mike? Withdrawn? Ainsley?
Withdrawn.
Cool. Anyone else for the speakers list?
Should I call this one a question? Second.
Sorry. I heard, I'll call this bill a question. I heard a second. All those in favor of calling this bill a question? All those opposed? Abstentions? This bill is being called to question. Go ahead, Kayla.
Dominic Kacharian,
Yes.
Jacob Holzler,
Yes.
Adam Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Ainsley Iavana,
Yes.
Zachary LaFontaine,
Yes.
Jordan St. Ange,
Yes.
Brianna Bay,
Yes.
Alexandra DeFabritas, Christopher Langlois,
Yes.
Michaela App,
Yes.
Justin Domian,
Yes.
Lisa Ugarte,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Jeff Dunn,
Yes.
Amanda Fox,
Yes.
Liam Nugent,
Yes.
Ali Schoenfeld,
Yes.
Mike Harrell,
Yes.
Ashley Harry-Zon,
Yes.
Fiona Dolan.
Yes.
This bill passes.
Okay, this bill passes. Anyone else for old business? Jordan.
Introducing SS47-027, a bill allocating funds to the exploration of the Philip Ford campaign at Roger Williams University.
Would you like to expand?
I would. So this bill was written based on an open debate topic we had last semester that got relatively good feedback. So basically, the purpose of this bill is to explore a test run of the Philip Ford campaign that was an initiative that was brought up in an IRHA conference last year. That was it was the top idea. I don't really know how IRHA works, but it was the top campaign that for the conference. It is shown to work really well at this university. So we brought it up in open debate, and it got, like I said, relatively good feedback. So what I'm asking in this bill is basically for $1,000 to allocate $1,000 to buy these stickers for the Philip Ford campaign, and the groups on campus that we would be running this test for through the student life committee would be the sailing team, the men's and women's basketball team, the peer mentors, RAs, and all elected org positions. So basically, the reason why I picked those is to get a wide range of students on campus. And based on the outcome of this semester and how the Philip Ford campaign works towards the university's effort of becoming more sustainable, we will reconsider this at the end of the semester, seeing if this is a great idea to bring to the entire campus. So yes, this is the bill that we wrote.
Okay, we'll start a speakers list. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
What metrics are going to be used to track the success of this?
Go ahead.
Okay, so in the Student Life Committee, we have, like I said, we broke up some of our initiatives into groups, and there are 2 people in the Student Life Committee that are working solely on the Philip Ford campaign throughout the semester. They will be sending these emails to these groups, asking for a specific amount of people from their specific group to be involved in this test run. And throughout the semester, we will be sending out Google Forms with a multitude of questions asking how successful this campaign was, if they used it, if they think their friends would be interested in it, and based on those results from a wide range of students on campus, we will decide whether we want to put this initiative into full swing on campus.
Tadek, point of inquiry. Let me just mute and then go ahead.
Awesome. Given that this is like more of a sustainability effort, as Sustainability Club's rep, I was just wondering, I've never heard them talk about it. And I was wondering if, especially since you kind of listed off some groups that would be helping with this campaign, I was wondering why Sustainability Club hasn't kind of been brought into this a little bit more and isn't like working more jointly with it, given that is the whole point of their club and that is the purpose of this little mission.
Direct.
Jordan, you can direct.
My apologies. I forgot the eco reps. They are also included in this test run. That's my fault. I'm sorry about that.
Can I continue my point of inquiry?
We have to. I'll go Ainsley and then I'll come back to you.
I saw that it was the unallocated funds account. I was just wondering, is that the right account name?
My personal privilege, could you speak up, please?
I was wondering if the unallocated funds account is the proper account.
Can I direct?
Go ahead, Jake.
I was actually just going to make a friendly amendment to change line 15 to let it be resolved that the Student Senate allocates $1,000 from the Student Senate operating budget for the purchase of 200 Philip Forward stickers. It's just a little bit more clear. Although this is the actual account that it'll be coming from, it's more clear to say the Student Senate operating budget.
Are you good with that? It just needs sponsor approval. So
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay. We can just change it to that. Tavik, we'll come back to you.
Thanks. Aside from the eco reps, like we do have a sustainability club. Like that was my point. So I was just wondering why they're not in it. Like not the eco reps or like the sustainability club themselves.
You can direct.
So there aren't a set number of, from the sailing team we want 10 people, or from like the men's basketball team we want 5. So we can definitely add that the sustainability club and account for those people in the sustainability club with the 200 stickers that we will be buying. We can just subtract an amount from, the other groups on campus, still getting a wide range of groups and their opinions. So we can add that club as well.
I can make a point of personal privilege as well, since it is not technically in the bill. I think this could be a discussion that could be had like post this meeting, and to see if sustainability club would actually be interested in taking on this initiative, which sounds like they would be. So I think that can be a discussion for after. And Jake, you were all set with your speakers.
Yeah, withdrawn.
Okay, cool. Anyone else for the speakers list?
Motion to amend, a friendly amendment.
Go ahead. What is?
Should line 12, should the confident be capitalized since noting is capitalized in line 7?
Do you mind speaking up? Sorry.
Should confident be capitalized in line 12 since noting is capitalized in line 7?
I'll let that be the discretion of the parliamentarian, if they want to change it or not. And Ellie's point is resolved. Anyone else for the speakers list? All those in favor of calling this bill a question? All those opposed? Abstentions? This bill is called to question. This isn't a bylaw bill. Hint.
That's not.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not a bylaw bill.
Motion to adopt the unanimous consent.
Second.
Is there any dissent? Going once, going twice. Okay, this bill passes. Sorry, I meant to say it wasn't a bylaw bill, but like I can't speak today. I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep. Are there any other bills for old business? Or any motions?
Motion to close old business. Second.
All those in favor of closing old business? All those opposed? Abstentions? Old business is now closed. Are there any other motions?
Motion to open new business. Second.
All those in favor of opening new business? All those opposed? Abstentions? New business is now open. Are there any bills for new business? Adam, go ahead.
Introducing SS47XXX, a bill appointing a senator to the position of Student Life Involvement Ceremony Co-Chair for regular consideration.
Looking forward to hear it. Mike.
Introducing SS47XXX, a bill amending section 1 of Article 8 of the Student Senate bylaws for regular consideration.
Looking forward to hear it. Jake.
Introducing SS47XXX, a bill allocating funds for the purchase of new televisions on campus.
Looking forward to hearing that one as well. Any other bills for new business?
Motion to close new business. Second.
All those in favor of closing new business? All those opposed? Abstentions? New business is now closed.